Hey friends, my name is Allison Steele, and you're listening to Unravel with Allison. Unravel with Allison is a show where I take a concept that's got me in knots and we unravel it together. Thanks for being here. Hey friends, welcome back. Today we are talking about reality checks. I gave myself a reality check when I learned about NLP, Neuro linguistic programming. And it's basically, to me, it's quantum resonance. It's how you feel about certain things and how it's programmed into your brain, how it feels in your body a certain way, and how the overlap expresses into who you are. Identification is part of programming, but then deprogramming or reprogramming, that's the alchemy of it all, when you get to change it. And it makes this ripple effect into all other areas of your life. But it takes that recognition that we all have these different patterns. We all have these different upbringings. If I tell you to close your eyes and think about a red truck, some people, I think of my brother's truck and it was my dad's truck before that. It's just been in the family and I see the red truck. But some people might have thought of a fire truck when I said that. Both are right, but to be able to identify those differences between you and others for one, and two, what they actually feel like for yourself. For me growing up, I had the same frequency for punishment and discipline. Discipline felt like punishment. Building a new part of myself or building a new habit, building a new routine was painful for me to do. Doing something that wasn't comfortable was uncomfortable, and I identified it as punishment. So discipline and punishment have always carried that same thing where I'm yeah, I'll go work out because I want to work out and I want to be strong, but I'm not going for a run because who would do that to themselves? That didn't sound fun to me. When I ran, I was out of breath. I was exhausted so quickly. It didn't feel good. I couldn't break through any barrier where it did feel good because it always felt bad enough to where I couldn't progress. And then I had this realization that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do ever again. It used to be fun for me to ride bikes with my friends, and then sometimes it wasn't because I was always left behind. If we were with a lot of people, I just couldn't keep up. I didn't like that feeling. That felt like punishment. That didn't push me to get better because I couldn't, because I had to stop to take care of myself. But everybody else would keep going. I don't want to be a part of that. And I don't have to be. So I was I'm never going to ride a bike again. And I don't have to. And then sitting in that I don't have to for so long, I started to not do anything at all because I didn't have to. I wasn't willing because why bother? And so I stayed on the couch for 5 years and that didn't help anybody. So then I start going through all this and expanding my brain and all this stuff. And then I start to get a little dicey. If I said everything out loud that was in my head, others were concerned for my well-being. Maybe these towers are frying our brains, kind of thing. And getting really into some of these ideas that were just popping into my head and then start researching them. And I'm wow, this sucks. And that's just one example. But then the other stuff of talking to yourself, does that make me crazy? There is just a lot of crazy in the mix, a lot of potential psychosis in the works. And I recognized that. I recognized when I was pulling away too far. I could see when I was oh, I'm just entertained by everything. I'm not existing. And this was part of the mindfulness journey and part of all of these meditations and everything that I was doing because I was so open to everything and interested in how my body was feeling in the right now moment. I tried all kinds of breath work. I did all kinds of meditations. I did all kinds of body work. I was trying to develop a relationship with my mind and my body and my spirituality. And I didn't know what any of that meant, but I did it all. And I did it all very comfortably with myself to where I'm I don't care what this says about me. I am when people tell me their stories and say that it changed their life, and all you have to do is sit there and think about things or listen to a certain thing. And then yeah, I can still back the passion and whatever and meditate and that can be the best thing that I can give to myself in a moment where I feel like I am crushed by the world. I'm like, I'm not getting up and running. That's for sure. Like if you don't even know how to get out of bed, you don't have to. You can just meditate. And sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. But that's where I was at when I started this. Discipline and punishment are not the same thing, and they don't feel the same way anymore. But it took thinking about it and feeling about it and exploring it and trying something else to come to a new understanding. So with NLP, there's kind of this bullseye of self. It's set up like a dartboard, but kind of looks more like the Target logo, I guess. But each layer has a different area. And when you affect an area, it affects that rim and the outer rim. So it's like if you hit the outer rim, that's great. You'll make effects in that area. But the closer you can get to the bullseye, that's where changes are made that ripple out to every single layer. And I liked that idea. That is like streamlining, is to hit that bullseye and you don't have to work as hard. Because it's like if you look at it from the outer rim, it's like, yeah, you can chip away at the layers, but it's going to take a long time to get to that middle source. And that middle bullseye point is yourself. I mean, this is like a self concept. So from the middle going out is like your vision. What am I a part of? And that was a big question, the biggest question. Because then you can identify those I statements. I am a student. I am a mother. I am a sister. I am all these things. But that means I'm a part of family. I'm a part of industry. I'm a part of so many things. And then to zoom out even further, this we are all connected kind of business. One of my favorite lines from Karen Curry Parker's existence is, you are a once in a lifetime cosmic event. And that's how I like to answer that question. Of that vision, what am I a part of? A once in a lifetime cosmic event. That's the coolest way I can think of to answer that question. And to make me feel limitless. And to make me feel important. And to make me feel supported. And to make me feel at home. We are experiencing a once in a lifetime cosmic event. We are rendering our history in real time. And identity is tied in with that. Who am I? The identity statement of who am I isn't something to necessarily ask in the now moment, but maybe sit and ponder what that actually means to you. Not necessarily what it means to you, but listen to how you're training yourself. Listen to what you're conditioning yourself to believe. How do you talk about yourself in the day-to-day? Because this is where I would get caught up in myself, like the self-deprecation, the little jokes. But I try to notice what I actually say about myself. I won't take on titles that I don't agree with. I won't say I am this or I am that if I am not open to being this or that. But I'm done telling myself that I'm a piece of shit. And I'm done telling myself that I'm embarrassing. And I'm done telling myself that people don't want to be around me. Those are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to how you talk to yourself, even when you're joking. Because the little cells and all the little things that listen to you inside your body, they carry a resonance. So when you say crappy, I don't know, when you make I am statements and you're joking, you're still like putting that into yourself. You're still integrating that in some way because it's like the logic part of your body that does that process just tacks on the emotion like an email attachment. It's like we're sending it on anyway. So it files itself logically, but emotionally, it's like you're now tacking on like a good feeling of like joking around to this crummy thing. And it's like your body's like, oh, they love it. Keep doing it. Perpetuate it. You're just kind of screwing yourself over. It's like you're putting up blockages. You're stopping the flow every time you do that. You're reminding yourself that that's who you are and how you are. And your body is like, oh, they like it. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep thinking it. Let's keep feeling it. And even though you're joking, like it's just not say what you mean what you say. But really sit and think about how you talk to yourself and what you say to yourself. Would you talk to anybody else on the planet the way that you talk to yourself? Because I wouldn't. That's what made me start talking to myself better. I had to actually separate myself from myself to where like I couldn't just be okay with being myself and who I was. I had to look at myself from the past and say like, oh, you've come a long way. Or go from the future and say, you got this. I couldn't be with myself right here and now. I had to travel time to be content with myself. But I was constantly giving myself conflicting ideas. So then now I can realize that I'm a once in a lifetime cosmic event. And I am who I am, and I pay attention to what I say about that person. The next line is beliefs and values. This is kind of where I am in the podcast, is where I hit on my beliefs and values. Why is it important? I think we can get something out of every situation in our lives. I think we can pull goodness from every single thing that exists. I don't think we spend enough time doing that. And the feelings on the other end of the spectrum feel bigger and scarier, and we spend more time there. And when you ask yourself, why is it important? For me, stability is I struggle with stability, and that's all it is. I don't want to be unstable. I want to know that, I don't want to be in survival mode. And I have major abandonment issues that I didn't realize that they were at the extent that they were. But when I say goodbye to somebody, it absolutely breaks my heart. I hate leaving a loving situation. I hate the drive home from my mom's. Every time I go to visit and I have to leave, I just cry every time, and I'm going to keep doing it. I don't want this to be done. And that doesn't feel like abandonment issues. That is saturated in love. Even though I know I can get it back, I don't want to break free from it. I want to be a part of it. And on the other end, it's like I caught myself. I was editing footage from my trip, and it's basically like a merry-go-round setup, but it's like a teeter-totter. It doesn't do the back and forth thing, but it's just like a pole with two seats on either end, and it spins like a propeller. So when we first got on it, we were sitting there and someone pushed us and ran off. And then we slowed down and he hopped off and was pushing it and climbed back on, like hopped back on to join the ride. And that's all that was happening. And I don't remember this. Like, I don't vividly have this in my brain, and it's weird that it happened and I had to see it reviewing my footage. But when he's about to hop off, I said, please stop this and let me get down. Please stop this and let me get down. Please don't leave me up here. Please don't leave me up here. I'm going to be so upset with you if you don't help me. But it was kind of frantic, and it was an absolute fear of abandonment. And we're on like a playground equipment. But that feeling in my heart of don't leave me here, it's like being left behind on a bicycle when all your friends run up ahead, and it's just there I am, and this is all I can do, and it hurts my feelings. And that's why it's important, because it hits on those beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. Those are I statements, but what you believe about yourself, what you value about yourself, all the stuff that you say you should be doing or could be doing, that is not helping you, because there's a lot that I should and could be doing right now. And I was feeling really guilty about not even knowing where to start or how to prioritize my day, because I am so far behind. And it was getting overwhelming because I'm not in a present moment. I'm far behind. I'm too far ahead. Things aren't where they need to be. I'm displaced. So I needed to bring myself back to reality. And when I came across all these notes, I just had to share them, because it makes that big of a difference. When you identify your beliefs and identify your values, I actually sat with this line for 2 weeks, just thinking what are my beliefs? What are my values? Do I even know? Have I identified that? I Googled a list of values because I didn't even really have a concept for what that meant. And then I explored my relationship with each of those things on the list. And then I came up with other things that were important to me that were on my list. And importance is the point here. What are you willing to import? What are you trying to bring in? Because every time you put up no's and don'ts, whatever, you're damning yourself. You're blocking the flow. You're saying, we can't let this in. And when I had that realization, the belief side of it crumbled. The values stayed strong. but the beliefs went away. I didn't care who was right and who was wrong. I didn't care what was real and what was fake. I cared about what we were doing and who we're doing it with and how it's going and being a part of real life. When my beliefs crumbled, my world opened up because a lot of that was not important if I am a once in a lifetime cosmic event. That's only important if I'm a manager, or stuff's only important if I'm this or if I'm that, or if I don't have this or don't have access to that. Anything that victimizes me, I'm over it. It's not important. So we don't welcome that conversation. When you get worked up about something, stop and ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? Whatever you're feeling, why does this make me so happy? Why does this make me so mad? Why does this make me feel sad? What about this feels good? Why is it important? But that is a wild part on that bullseye if you've never asked yourself those questions, because you have values and you have beliefs and they are controlling what you import. They're controlling how you see the world. And if you feel stuck, you're controlling too much. If you can't roll, you're controlling it. You are stuck. So you got to loosen up and let some of those go. When you identify the vision and identity, beliefs and the values, the next level is that capabilities. How can I do the next task? What are my skills? What are my abilities? What am I capable of? What do I know? What can I do? I say skills, but I'm not talking about skill set like I can swing a hammer, but I can get through this. I've done this before. Or I've never been in this situation, but it feels like when this other situation started and I made it through that, I can make it through this. You know, working in the restaurants, it's like we're having a rough night. Hey, doors close in 2 hours. 2 hours. We're almost done. When you're working a mid shift, you know, like 11 to 11, that's important to tell yourself when it's like, oh my gosh, this day will never end. Transforming this day will never end into the doors are going to close. They do every night. You're almost there. Not so bad. But how can I do the next task? It's more like, what flavor can I bring to it? How can we feel it differently? In light of what? How can I do this next task? The next layer is behavior. Once you decide who you are, why it's important, and what you're capable of, be realistic about what you can actually do next. Because here's where you have to take the first step. You actually have to initiate progress. You have to do something else here. The next real thing that you can do, the next thing you can pick up with your hand. What can I do next? And start little and small, putting on your socks, then putting on your shoes. I can do those things next. I can go brush my teeth. You can do that thing next. Keep it small. But when you need those reality checks, be realistic about it. And then the final outermost edge is your results and your environment. So your results are like, I don't know, resulting of everything else you've done. Where you are right now is a result of your life. Your environment, same thing. It's your surroundings. They're one and the same. So when you look at your results and you're not happy with them, when you look at your surroundings and you're not happy with them, it's easy to tie that into your self-worth and be like, oh, well, my space is crappy because I'm crappy. Whereas you could just, what can I do next? And straighten up a little bit. You don't have to carry that narrative with it, but you can recognize your environment and that you have the ability to do something about it. The question here is when and where am I? Where makes sense. We just kind of talked about it. It's a physical plane. So if you're off in your head, which is why I did these reality checks, because I needed to come back to reality. When and where am I was question number 1 to answer. I had to be like, okay, I'm sitting on my bed. Okay, I'm sitting in a chair. Okay, I'm standing in my yard. Like, answer it simply, straightforward and confidently. This is where I am. It brings your mind right back to it. And the when am I? In any given moment, you're always right here, right now. But if you're looking at your results and you're criticizing your previous self, you're back there. You're in the past. You're not here. If you're in a whirlwind of time and you're worried about getting out the door or this argument that you had with a kid and how that's going to affect them in 20 years, like, don't tell yourself they're going to be talking to their therapist about that stuff. Why even plant that seed? But come back to right now. Not back there, not up there, just right here. And that's how I would do my little check-ins. When I felt myself getting a little crazy, I'm like, okay, I need a reality check. Or when I feel myself getting mad or When anything got too big and I needed to rein it in, that's how I started my reality check. And even though it is easier to hit it at that midpoint, sometimes answering that question, what am I a part of? A once in a lifetime cosmic event. Sometimes that's where I started. Like I was already in my head feeling that, and I needed to come back to my feet and my body and start, I don't know, doing the dishes. So that was the part that helped me, is you can jump from the outer rim to the middle rim, to the middle rim, to the outer rim, and you can affect change that quickly. So when I'm in that identity space of cosmic event and my brain's all in dream world and I need to get back to reality, when and where am I? Boom, jump to that outer rim and I am back to reality. And then I start to hop back in. When and where am I? Okay, I'm sitting in my room and here's how my body feels. Okay, behavior. What can I do next? Put on my socks, put on my shoes, go brush my teeth. Okay, so that's the game plan. Then you hit on capabilities. How can I do the next task? All right, cool. I'll put on a podcast to listen to while I do it. Or I'll turn on some music. Or I won't turn on anything and I'll just sit with myself for a while. But acknowledge that part. Acknowledge what you're choosing and how you're choosing to color it. Beliefs and values. Why is it important? Well, if you need to leave the house and do other things, that's getting a little too far into the future. Maybe because that's the best way to take care of myself right now is just a good enough answer. This is the best thing I can do for myself because I'm really not going to be able to do anything else until I get these parts done. These are my priorities. This is why it's important. Because right here, right now, me needs to do these things right here, right now. And the identity, the who am I? You already know these things about yourself. Start taking care of yourself. What am I a part of? You're a once in a lifetime cosmic event and you are better at being that and affecting change in your right here and right now moment and your behavior with others. So when you have yourself in check, you're in the room to heal the room. Thanks for listening to another episode of Unravel with Allison. We've got all the social networks up and running. Feel free to reach out, follow, subscribe, keep in touch, and stay up to date on new episodes. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you next week.